In today's show, we're going to discuss the Montgomery, Alabama-based Southern Poverty Law Center as it defames the American Redoubt movement again. The SPLC has produced another hit piece about the American Redoubt political migration movement in their typical around the way slander people by association attack pattern. This is exactly some form of 21st century scarlet letter to a bunch of omitted progressive leftists used to slander any traditionalist, Christian, or conservative they dislike. The SPLC has previously accused James Rawls of survivalblog.com and the creator of the American Redoubt political movement concept of being a sovereign citizen with absolutely no evidence. James Rawls has said numerous times and in numerous places, both in writing and in interviews, that he is not and has never been a member of any sovereign citizen movement, that he does not identify himself as a sovereign citizen. Yet the SPLC simply lies and continues to repeat these lies. The SPLC is using a heinous, defamatory process that smears James Rawls by connecting him to the sovereign citizen movement and a few members of that movement that have committed violence. Yet I find it very interesting that the SPLC and progressives attack anyone when we talk about Islamic-inspired terrorists. I have personally encouraged James Rawls to sue the SPLC for defamation of character for their attacks upon himself and the American Redoubt movement. If you agree that he should take action against the SPLC, please share this video with the survivalblog.com members in their comment section and send it to James Rawls. Also, drop me a note that you did so in the comments below. It is my opinion that we must fight evil. We must fight against this evil. The SPLC has successfully been sued by a former British radical Muslim named Majid Nawaz. I guess I'll hack his name, Nawaz, who received a $3.4 million payment from the SPLC. The SPLC smeared this man as an anti-Muslim radical because he advocated for other Muslims to reject violence. In addition, the SPLC has attempted to connect the American Redoubt political migration movement to the Oath Keepers. Why? Should the SPLC be connected in some way to Black Lives Matter? They both agree on many things. The SPLC claims it is not responsible for the actions of Floyd Lee Corkins. Floyd Lee Corkins read the website of the SPLC and then went out with the intention to murder people based on what the SPLC said. But more on that later. What in the world does the American Redoubt political migration movement have to do with the Oath Keepers organization? This is yet another example of guilt by association that the SPLC practices. The SPLC has learned well from their former enemy, the Klan. The truth is the American Redoubt political migration movement is not a sovereign citizen organization. It is not in any way related to the Oath Keepers. Now this SPLC has attacked a leading Washington state representative by the name of Matt Shea. Matt Shea has himself never said that he is a leading voice of the American Redoubt movement. He has never said he's a leader of any type of movement like that. But someone at the SPLC has invented a connection between Matt Shea and the leadership or the primary voices of the American Redoubt movement, and then savaged Matt Shea. I was going to focus this video upon Matt Shea and all those issues that surround him, but now I realize I need to create a separate video to focus on Matt Shea because of so much information I want to share with this audience about the Southern Poverty Law Center. The SPLC, in my opinion, started off actually as a group that did a lot of good. The group defended mostly Southern blacks or Americans of African descent who were savaged by a true domestic terrorist organization, the KKK. The Klan was snatching black children out of their homes at night, lynching them. The Klan was burning crosses in people's yards, which is a direct threat. They were murdering people and lynching people. And by the way, just for all those progressives to know, the Klan often were the local police in the local area. The SPLC was founded to defeat the Klan by suing them and going into the court systems to attack the Klan. This pattern has been a whopping success for the SPLC, and they've gotten filthy rich doing it. One article that I found said, and I quote, "The Ku Klux Klan, the SPLC most lucrative nemesis, has shrunk from 4 million members in 1920 to an estimated 2,000 today, as of 2000, and as many as 10% of whom are thought to be FBI informants. After the SPLC won their valiant war against the Klan, they needed to find new menaces to fight to validate their continued existence. In organizational theory, it is sometimes taught that any organization that lives around long enough becomes more focused on the organization's continued existence than achieving the objectives the organization was initially founded to achieve. So how does the SPLC continue to validate its existence? Well, it constantly invents new menaces to attack. The SPLC is a far left group. The SPLC has stated simply, it is not a neutral organization. It is a progressive liberal organization that's highly associated with the Democratic Party. It has stated this essentially. In 2011, in a National Review's interview by Charles Cook, he pressed the SPLC as to why they were not tracking the Occupy Wall Street movement after a group which was affiliated with the Occupy Wall Street movement plotted to blow up a bridge in Cleveland, Ohio. The SPLC said, "We're not set up to cover the extreme left," close quotes. The SPLC further admitted, quote, "We only ever cover left-wing groups when they have a right-wing component." He told that, end quote, he told that to the National Review. The SPLC founder and long-term CEO Morris D. donated money to the Democratic presidential campaign of Jimmy Carter. And after Jimmy Carter was elected president, he attempted to become the Attorney General under that president. The SPLC director, Mark Potok, even doubles as a Huffington Post columnist. The Huffington Post is one of the most progressive liberal journalist organizations out there. Yet journalists all over the nation quote the SPLC without providing context. The SPLC has donated almost exclusively to Democrats and liberal organization. The Alabama-based organization partners with far left liberal advocacy groups like Media Matters for America. When the SPLC president testified in front of Congress, the federal Congress, he admitted that the SPLC research and hate map was just an opinion. "Well, it's our opinion," he said, quote. Conan admitted, quote, "It's an opinion that I think has a tremendous amount of credibility," close quote. Why is the SPLC's opinion any more important than yours or mine? Recently, the far left publication said that groups that Matt Shea had chosen to support, quote, "Those donations included a $3,500 gift to the Americans for America, a quote-unquote anti-American organization that the SPLC designates as a hate group," close quote. Yet this lying far-left publication never mentions that the SPLC itself is a partisan leftist group, and they never mention that the SPLC's designations are just their opinion, which the SPLC has acknowledged. This partisan hit piece also states the American Redoubt, a fringe secessionist and survivalist movement that encourages followers, mostly conservative Christians, to migrate to the inland Northwest, where they will supposedly wait out the collapse of society. That statement is utterly false. The American Redoubt is not secessionist movement, nor is it a survivalist movement, nor does the American Redoubt encourage anyone to sit out anything. The truth is, the American Redoubt movement encourages liberty-leaning Christians and Jews to get into the fight however you can. Thus, this statement is a total lie and a smear piece by a far-left journalist quoting a far-left conspiracy organization like the SPLC. The SPLC continues to attack Christians. In this savaging of mainland conservative organizations that have this kind of savaging has actually motivated domestic progressive terrorists to physically attack organizations like the Family Research Council. This attack nearly killed a black security guard, Leonardo Johnson. Leonardo Johnson was guarding the offices of the Family Research Council when a 28-year-old white Floyd Lee Corkins came in and tried to murder these people. He said specifically that he targeted the Family Research Council because the SPLC mentioned it on their so-called hate map. Later, the SPLC put a Providence Baptist Church in Hickory, North Carolina on their hate map. Then someone, I'm not sure if they've ever been identified, burned down the church. They then sprayed near the site, "This is an anti-gay hate group." Several problems with this. Well, one simple problem was they burned down the wrong Baptist church. The SPLC even marked a Catholic nonprofit that is called the Pro-Family Ruth Institute, which actually just simply supports marriage, traditional marriage as defined by the Catholic Church, as a hate group. Because this group was citing the Catechism of the Catholic Church, which is the official teaching of the Catholic Church. And they were stating marriage is between one man and one woman for life. After the SPLC put this Catholic organization on their hate hit list, Amazon refused to allow the Catholic group to be included in its Amazon Smile charitable giving program. Then Venco Payment Solutions dropped the Catholic ministry from its online donation processing service. Now the SPLC attacks any conservatives who dare to share Orthodox Christian truths like homosexuality is a sin. There are many other sins like premarital sex, abortion, adultery, fornication, but it is a biblical truth that of all the sins a man can commit, only 4 cry out to the Lord Christ for vengeance. Homosexuality is one of them. But if you say that, the SPLC may simply attack you. The SPLC says the lesbian, gay, bigender, transgender, or bi-transgender community deserves respect, not demonization. Wrong. No one deserves respect. Respect is to be earned and freely withheld or given by any free person who chooses. Let me say that again. While I believe that every person is created in the image of God and all are loved equally by the Lord, and individuals should be treated with dignity and respect, homosexuality, among many other things, is a sin, and sins are to be avoided. Even the near occasions of sin are to be avoided to the best of our ability. Sinful behavior is not to be respected by believing Orthodox Christians. And now, by the way, the SPLC feels so secure in its position that its reporters are actually running around the country assaulting people. At the rally, which was organized and attended by, admittedly, racist National Socialists and other racist groups, the SPLC investigative reporter Stephen Lemons, who writes articles for the Hate Watch section on the SPLC Hit Piece website, attacked a guy named Tin Guyonette, who writes under the pen name Baked Alaska. In the video, which by the way was removed from Google, you can't find it when you do Google search, or it's very difficult to use Google search to find this video. This is that cooperation, but that's why DuckDuckGo exists. You use DuckDuckGo to find this, and I was able to finally find it, which I'm posting here. Tim Guillenette, who actually attended this rally, which was organized by racists, was attacked by the SPLC reporter. And then the SPLC reporter lies that he struck him.
This guy's stalking me. He's been following me. Yeah. Whoa, look at him. He lost his ass. Touch the cock now, bitch boy. Whoa. Touch the cock now, bitch boy. Touch the cock now, bitch boy. Whoa. Yeah. This dude just hit me. Hey, get away from me. He fucking hit me. Hit me. I saw it. Yeah, got that on tape, bitch. Yeah, you did hit me. Look at that smile. Look at it. Yeah.
And this is the organization that JP Morgan, Apple, and Patreon, and Amazon is depending on to fairly decide who belongs on a hate list. The SPLC receives millions of dollars in donations from the titans of industry. George Clooney, JP Morgan, Apple CEO Tim Cook give massively to the SPLC. These same people are liberal globalist aristocracy who wish to control and dominate Christian conservative America. With this money, the SPL buys influence. Major companies like Amazon and Visas and other processing people use their so-called hate map and finding as an excuse to unperson traditional Christians and political conservatives. Also, so-called progressive journalists quote the SPLC with no context as if their opinion was any more meaningful than yours or mine. The SPLC is a progressive, partisan, globalist, anti-Christian, bigoted organization. Let's see a journalist quote that about the SPLC. Let's see Visa or Patreon quote that. This continued attack upon our constitutionally protected freedom of speech rights by this 21st century liberal Klan, the invisible empire, must be fought against by all men of goodwill. The SPLC is a bunch of self-aggrandizing, anti-Christian bigots who are far-left bullies who attack people, sometimes physically, that they disagree with politically. They do not care about the truth. They are in a war against traditionalists, conservatives, and Christians. And we on the conservative side should accept that we are in a war with organizations like the SPLC and respond appropriately. Each and every company, organization, person, journalist who supports or uses the SPLC research without providing context that they are a highly liberal, biased organization that is only expressing their personal opinion is simply a 21st century progressive bigot who is attending a modern day liberal lynching of a conservative. Viva Crystal Ray, Viva Crystal Ray, Viva Crystal Ray, the Virgin of Guadalupe.